A group of special forces is on a mission in the desert. They found a tire mark of a 10-ton armored vehicle. It suddenly disappeared. But reality didn't give them time to think. A silent storm is approaching. It will soon surround them. In a strange flash, the armored vehicle fell into a desert ravine. When everyone was awake, it appeared completely in another desert. There are no signs of storms around. But soon they found the armored vehicle and another team that suddenly disappeared. But they seemed to have been washed away by the ravine. Their whole body was burnt. There were scattered empty bullets on the ground. Obviously, they had a big battle before they died. But what shocked them even more was the huge armor like a dinosaur in front of them. At that time, they found something terrible in the distant desert. They were running away quickly. Everyone hurried to get out of the car and tried to suppress it with firepower. But before they could see what it was, the armored vehicle was attacked by a terrifying force. Then the body of the dinosaur was completely presented in front of them. The huge body was full of tire marks. The assault rifle, or even the Gatling, was no different from the horned dinosaur. Soon, a teammate was pierced by a huge horn. He threw out a string of grenades before he died. The horn was blown off by a horn. But the damage was not enough. Everyone hurriedly hid in the back of the mess. The advantage of taking advantage of the space finally stopped the horn. But the most terrifying thing in the wild is often the quiet sea. Captain Alice was immediately pierced by a terrifying creature. Then there were shadow spiders all over the place. Even a shadow spider is hard to find. Not to mention that the rest of the team could only fight and hide in the clear tide. The terrible terrain soon disappeared with the sound of gunfire. Alice woke up from a black scratch. Obviously, the body that was pierced by the shadow spider was not seriously injured. This should be the den of the shadow spider. There was not only the animal's cry, but also the corpse of its companion. Fortunately, Alice found a medical bag next to her. She pulled out a flamethrower and looked for an exit in the muddy tide. Soon, she found a companion, but they haven't gone far yet. The companion stopped because of the huge pain. Let her take off her clothes first. Alice was shocked by the scene in front of her. Then her companion was also dragged away by the shadow spider. Alice took the opportunity to light up the oxygen tank. Then she climbed towards the bright place, but the burning shadow spider was still step by step. She dragged her down again. Alice kicked the shadow spider with one foot. Then she took out a row of armor bags and threw them on the back of the burning shadow spider. Alice took the opportunity to climb out of the tide. Finally, she saw the sun again. The woman crazily took off her top, repeatedly touched to see if there was any trace of being reborn. And in the cave not far from her, there were countless shadow spiders staring at her. But she was afraid of the sun, so she didn't attack. Alice took off her socks and showed her wound. Then she opened the armor bag with a knife and poured the gunpowder into the wound. She picked up 2 stones and lit them up. Obviously, this is the most effective way to deal with wounds in the wild. Alice endured the pain and walked to the bottom of the sand. Looking around, it was like a desert, surrounded by sand. Alice picked up a stone and threw it into the desert. The stone was broken. Looking at the broken corner, it was obvious that it was the same as the stone that attacked the special forces. Alice could only go deeper into the desert. Soon after, she found several wrecked ships nearby. It was hard for her to get into the shipwreck. See if you can find any useful supplies. But the next moment, Alice was fighting with a strange man. But in just a few rounds, Alice was defeated. She was tied up and brought to a dark cave. The man's name is Tony Jack. He is a monster hunter in this world. Because he was attacked by a dragon when he was killing, he was left alone. Tony Jack obviously rested here for a while. He used a green moss to heal his wound. At the same time, he used a green moss to heal his wound. But the two of them are different in language. They don't know what the other person is. In the cave, the two of them fought again. They fought fiercely. They rolled down the hill like a rolling gourd. Tony Jack accidentally got stuck in the cave of the shadow spider. The shadow spider down there is countless. Fortunately, Alice pulled him away at the critical moment and exchanged a chocolate for Tony Jack's life. It turns out that they all have the same purpose. It's the far heaven. That's the way to the two worlds. But if you want to get through the sea of death, you have to get rid of that evil footman first. And the best way to defeat the monster is to defeat the magic. Then at 10 o'clock in the evening, Alice was born, waiting in the old nest of the shadow spider. When night falls, a huge shadow spider rushes towards Alice. As a result, he accidentally fell into the trap prepared in advance. It was Tony Jack who fell from the sky. With the weight of the wooden barrel reduced, the wooden rope was also pulled out. The wooden barrel hit the ground hard. The other end of the rope was also triggered. The timing was right. The two rushed into the sea of death from the other side of the cage. But the movement of their running still attracted the attention of the cage. In order to get the weapon on the armored car not far away, Tony Jack stood up and ran to the other side. Then he bent his bow and arrow and aimed at the eyes of the cage. The shadow spider penetrated the body of the cage in an instant. But it didn't affect his fighting power at all. A shadow spider almost killed Tony Jack. At the critical moment, the other side of Alice raised Jacqueline and went crazy. But she couldn't even break the skin of the cage. At this time, the paralyzing effect of the venom also played a role. Alice took the opportunity to shoot a rocket. Before she could do anything, Tony Jack jumped on the head of the cage and stabbed the body of the cage with a sharp knife. Tony Jack was thrown out and smashed into the car. He lost his fighting power directly, but at this time, the cage also erupted. In the end, he still needed Alice to make up for it. The cage was completely resolved. At last, Alice cut off a piece of the scales of the cage. She dragged Tony Jack to the roof. Without the cage's obstruction, they soon reached the greenery in the sand. There was not only a green lake here, but also a large number of plants and monsters were trapped. Tony Jack tried to make Alice drink water safely. But at the next moment, the two were going to take a night's rest in this green lake before they set out. But when the night came, a dinosaur suddenly lit up the forest far away. The frightened Begilon rushed towards them. If he was hit by such a big guy, he would be dead. At the critical moment, a human fell from the sky. With the help of the magical fire knife magic, the two successfully opened a path in the crowd. When Alice woke up in a daze, she was indeed locked up by this group of people. But soon she found a flaw. She smashed the iron wall with a stool. She entered the lower room. This should be a kitchen. Alice was about to take a kitchen knife to defend herself. After Tony Jack's explanation, everyone knew that everything was a misunderstanding. They also have a common goal, which is the paradise on the high mountain far away. There is an ancient civilization. It used to have the most advanced technology, but in the end, it was betrayed by its own technology. Use the lava as energy to manipulate lightning to open the passage from time to time. Alice and her special forces are not the first batch of humans to be sent to this world, so the leader will be their leader. Their purpose this time is to close this passage, but the ancient people have a strong guard. It's the red dragon they saw in the green lake. They are huge, fake, and sharp. They will only show up when they are on fire. The captain raised the big knife and first launched a fiery skill attack at the dinosaur. After that, Alice's double-edged sword rushed to the front. Under the cover of Tony's explosion, Alice quickly seized the opportunity to launch an attack on the side of the dragon. At the same time, the stone talismans on both sides of the road were destroyed. Lightning on the altar opened a passage. In a moment when the dragon turned around, Alice made a gorgeous turn and broke its wings, and with the advantage, she continued to hold the dragon firmly. The rest of the hunters took the opportunity to kill. In the wilderness, Tony again fired a shot. In the moment of the explosion, Alice successfully broke the skin of the dragon. Unexpectedly, the dragon's defense was very high and did not suffer much damage. She had no choice but to show up and try to attack the giant beast group on the wall. Although this move broke the defense, it also completely infuriated the dragon's wings and shot it 100 meters away. Seeing that Alice was about to be fatally injured, the moment the dragon was on fire, she decided to jump off the cliff to avoid the fiery attack. Fortunately, a passage was just opened below. After a turn of the sky and the earth, Alice was sent back to the world of humans. When she woke up from a coma, she was just found by the search team. After confirming her identity, she was taken to the plane for rescue. Alice just woke up. In the next second, a lightning struck the sky. The giant dragon also came to the world of humans through the passage, and quickly rushed to the plane and then ran away. The destroyed plane suddenly fell to the ground. Fortunately, Alice was able to breathe under the protection of the seatbelt. At the same time, the giant dragon that was landing on the ground proudly spread its body, spitting out a dragon's sweat and raging, and this scene was just what Alice was looking at, because she met a good opportunity that was hard to meet for thousands of years. And her goal is to destroy the flying dragon's ability. The giant dragon, who was in pain, suddenly let out a roar of anger. He immediately opened his mouth and his throat was full of dragon's sweat, ready to destroy Alice. Coincidentally, this was also the scene that Alice wanted the most. She quickly